Shalom, Israel. All praises to the Most High Mashiach, Yahweh Shai, and blessings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. And welcome back to another Torah Tuesday. I'm not going to keep it too long this Tuesday, but I did want to get into the Memorial of Simon. We're still in our ceremonial laws, still going through that as we're in this season, this new season that we have, or this new year that we're into right now. We're into our second month, and we have a memorial before we have our memorial blowing of the trumpets. But this memorial is a memorial of Simon. So I just want to jump in real quick and pull out a few precepts and kind of recognize and give the children of Israel, to recognize Simon, Mattathias and his four sons. Great history of our Maccabees brothers and what they did for our nation. So I'm going to start off in First Maccabees. Start off in First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11. And we'll go back. Sorry about that. Let me share the screen. Right, so I want to start off in verse 11. Now, I'm going to be hitting and miss, jumping around just so I can get to the point. And the point I'm trying to make is that the second month on the 23rd day is when our nation, we recognize once again Mattathias and his four sons, the Maccabees family, for their dedication and their triumph over the enemies and brought Israel out of great tribulation at the time. So at this time, we're dealing with the Greeks and we're dealing in the Hellenist type of situation we're dealing with now. Israel was in a Hellenist state at the time, and they was actually rehearsing and doing the ordinances of the Greeks. But this one family had had enough of it, and they and their brethren stood up to the enemy, the Greeks, and fought them. Okay, but just to get a little history, I'm gonna run right in of what was happening, what was actually taking place in Jerusalem at that time. I'm gonna start at verse 11. In those days went forth out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. But since we departed from them, we have had much sorrows. So this is what they was doing. They was convincing Israel because our enemies, the Greeks, was coming down upon our people and was, bringing, great turbulence to our people. Our people was in a sad state. So we have wicked men, as they said wicked men of Israel that was trying to persuade our people to fall under the banner of the Greeks. Verse 12. So this device pleased them. Okay, so it said this device pleased them. Then it says, verse 13, then certain of the people were so forward there herein that they went to the king, who gave them licenses to do after the ordinances of the heathen. So these wicked men was persuading Israel and had the license and the authority of these Greeks to continue to spread this across our people and try to get our people to convey and leave the law, statutes, and commandments. Now, what took place, which I'm going to jump right in, is that Maccabees family was fed up with it. A lot of Israelites was fed up with it. And the Maccabees family, Most High put a spirit on them to step up and to actually bring our people and give them faith that they can do this. They can overcome the enemy. So that's what was going on during the time of Jerusalem at the time. Now I'm going to go. I'm going to go to Second Maccabees, chapter 1, and just get a little bit about the Maccabeus family, and the 4 sons. Verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simon, a priest of the sons of Jorad, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons. I think it's Jonah, called Cadius, Simon, called Thaddeus, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Avernoran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphias. Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemy that were committed in Judea and Jerusalem. See, now, just fast forward a little bit. He saw what was actually taking place and how our people was being persuaded, to leave our ordinances and the commandments and start following the ways of the Greeks, the heathens. So this family got fed up, along with a lot of other brethren as well. Verse 7. And this is what Mattathias Maccabee said. He said, "Woe is me. Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell here when it is delivered unto the hands of the enemy, and the sanctuary unto the hands of the strangers. Her temples was become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young man with the sword of the enemy." So our people was getting put to death. Our infants was getting put to death. Our women was being taken, or was put to death and was taken advantage of. This is what Mattathias and his sons had seen. So they got fed up with it. Verse 11. All her ordinances are taken away. Of a free woman she is become a bond slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end thereof shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons ripped their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of the Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. So they made this big spectacle on how the Greeks came in and they wanted to continue to persuade the people. Not only that, but they wanted to also start having them to make sacrifices, abominable sacrifices. Okay. Verse 18. Now therefore come thou first. I'm going to start at 17. Then answered the king officers and said to Mattathias, on this wise, thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. See, sons and brethren. So there was other Israelites who had the same mind frame as Mattathias. It just couldn't take it no more for what they was actually doing to our land and to our temple, to our people, to our women. Okay. Verse 18. Now therefore come thou first. So now they telling Mattathias, you be the first one to persuade the people. They had other wicked men that was persuading the people, but then they wanted Mattathias to come as well. Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judea also, as much as remain at Jerusalem. See, even Israelites who had conveyed and started doing what the king's commandment was. Wicked men, though, wicked men of Israel. I'll pick it up in verse 18. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends. So now he's saying that, hey, if you come do as these wicked men of Israel and Judea is doing, you will become the king's friend by persuading Israel to commit these abominations. So shall thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. So now they're trying to persuade him. Then Mattathias answered and said with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominance obey him, and fall away every one from their religion and their fathers, and gave consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the laws and the ordinances. Verse 23. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews, one of them sellouts, one of those Uncle Toms, of the Jews, in the sight of all the sacrifices on the altar, which was at Molden, according to the king's commandment. So here comes this Uncle Tom. Verse 24. Which things when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his brim trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Therefore he ran and slew him on the altar. So he put that Uncle Tom to death. Also the king commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and teared down, and the altar he pulled down. Verse 26. Thus dealt he zealously for the laws of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zebram, the son of Solomon. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So now he's recruiting his brothers. So now they're standing up and revolting. This is what the big revolt came from. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that even they had in the city. So now, like you said, they say, you know what, we're done. The only way we're going to be able to have peace if we go into the mountains, if we go into the wilderness, right? And as you continue to read, then you'll understand that that led to a great army that the Most High allowed the Maccabees family to put together with the children of Israel. And over time, they had great battles. They won great victories against the Greeks, and they also great battles that they won, um, as so much that it was recorded history, and the heathen and the Maccabees family and Israel was well known, and they knew they had a fight on their hands. So that took place. So many years, many wars, many fights, and even our brethren had fell during the time of war. Mattathias fell, as well as the four sons, well, the three sons. And there was one son that was actually left. And at that time, Israel spirits had dropped again because of the death of, our soldiers, our great warriors, our leaders. So, but there was one son left though, Simon. Simon was left. So, real quick, like I said, just want to skip around a little bit and just get to the point. So let's go into First Maccabees chapter 13. Going to 13 and verse 1. And then from there, I'm going to skip down. Now we're coming to the point where the brothers are put to death in battle, and Simon is the last one that's left. Great history. I'm doing it not too good of a service because there's a lot of history, a lot of have to be read. But I just want to get to one of the main focal points of why we actually have a service, and we actually recognize the Feast of Simon, or the Memorial of Simon. Verse 1. Now when Simon heard that Travan had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together. So now, here we are again. One of the Maccabees brothers, Simon, is stepping up and gave them exhortation, saying, Ye yourselves know what great thing I and my brethren and my father's house have done for the laws and the sanctuary, the battles also and troubles which we have seen. By reason thereof, all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. Now therefore, be it far from me that I should spare my own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. Okay, so he's building Israel up. Okay, doubtless I will avenge my nation and the sanctuary and our wives and our children, and the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Now, as soon as the people heard these words, their spirit revived, and they answered with a loud voice, saying, Thou shalt be our leader instead of Judas and Jonathan thy brother. Fight thou our battles, and whatsoever thou commandest us, that we will do. So that's what came into place. He became the leader of the children of Israel in battle, in war. And when you read a little bit further more about the battles that Simon took the children of Israel to, they won those victories as well. Okay, but now I'm going to jump right ahead. I'm not going to keep it too long. So we're going to stay in First Maccabees chapter 13, and I'm going to jump right into the law. Not the law, but the memorial that they set forth from all of those great victories that Simon led them through. Start at 47. Let's just start at 47. Now, once again, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I just want to get to the point because, like I said, it's a lot of history to be read, and they talks about the leadership of Judas Maccabee. They talked about the leadership of Jonathan, Maccabee. They talked about let me see the other son. Cadius, Eleazar. They talk about all of those great victories and how they played their part in delivering the children of Israel out of the hands of our enemies, our Greek enemies, as well as putting to death, those Hellenists that actually was taking our people and persuading our people to do their commandments and leaving the ordinances and the commandments of the Most High. So that took place. So now the victory has come. So now they're going to recognize this day. Verse 47. So Simon was So Simon appeared toward them and fought no more against them. Now, this is what happened. There was heathen still in Jerusalem. And Simon was taking the fight to Jerusalem to regain it so that he can renew the temple as well as get back our land that's in Jerusalem and in Judea. And there were people there. So what he did was he seized Jerusalem so that they couldn't get out, right? And to a point where he said, well, we're going to wait them out and see what happens. Verse 47. So Simon was appeared toward them and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving. So now he's taken over the motherland. He's taken over Jerusalem. Yea, he put all uncleanness out of it and placed such men there as would keep the law and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. Verse 49. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy, nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from hence, he cleaned the tower from pollution and entered into. See, what he did was, like he said, he cleansed it, because remember, we still had them Hellenist Israelites that was obeying the king's commandments. So he had to put them out. He had to snuff them out, to a point where they can't buy, sell, and just put heavy burdens on them and say, hey, look, y'all got to get up out of here if y'all ain't keeping these commandments. So when he done all of that and regained Jerusalem, he said he made a spot for himself as well. So while he was in there, this is what he did. I'm going to start at 50 again. It said, then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them, when he had put them out from hence. He cleansed the the tower from pollution, and entered into it with 3 and 20th day of the second month in the 171st year, with thanksgiving and branches of palm trees, with harps, with cymbals, and with viols, and hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. So that's where it actually took place. It actually took place in verse 51. It says on the 3rd and 20th day of the second month. So that will be the 23rd of the second month of our year. And that's where we at now today. We're here in the second month, and on the 23rd day of the second month, we actually going to come together and actually, as a memorial, a feast memorial, and we're gonna, with mirth and gladness. Verse 52. He ordained also that he ordained also that day should be kept every year. So here we are. It says that particular day is to be kept every year based upon the victory that our nation had, and how the Most High has given us the victory. He ordained also that day should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the towers, he made stronger than it was. And there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that John, his brother, was a valiant man, he made him captain over the hosts and dwelt in Gaza. So it's that particular day of the second month, that 23rd day of the second month is when we actually have that memorial of Simon. Like I said, it's to bring more credence to our people and to our forefathers who actually, went forth and fought and set examples of what we're going to have to do. So these are examples that the Heavenly Father allowed our brothers to experience, and then now we're reading about them, and we're also upholding these memorials as well as our holy feast days and ceremonial laws, to build our people, just to get our people in the mind state to say, hey, look, this is nothing new. What we have to do is we have to go back, we have to search it out, find out what our forefathers had overcame, and we are going to do the same. So I'm not going to keep you long, Israel. Just want to bring that out. Next Tuesday, we'll go back into our ceremonial laws. We're going to deal with memorial blowing of the trumpet. Okay, memorial blowing of the trumpet. Matter of fact, yes, memorial blowing of the trumpet. So with that, I say shalom. Go back here.